Hey, it's Bradley J. Welcome to another StreamYard edition. I am in the studio, and you guys know, if you've seen my StreamYards, I always bring on a guest. And yeah, we are going to be talking about the Kansas Summer Nationals. And to talk with me is Leslie. How are you?
I'm great, Bradley. Great to be on here with you guys today.
Thank you. Well, thanks for joining us. And there's a big event coming up with the Kansas Summer Nationals. First of all, I want to get to know a little bit about you. Is this something that like you've been doing, talking about the Kansas Summer Nationals or talking about events like these for a long time, or is this something you're brand new to?
No. I'm old hat at this. This is my 18th year being a live event announcer for truck and tractor pulling. I got my start back in 2006, and it was kind of one of those mistakes that turned into a magnificent opportunity for me. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And as I have been exposed to more events, more vehicles, more classes, it's just really helped me learn to love the sport. And I think that's what's really exciting about this. There's something for everything in truck and tractor, something for everyone in truck and tractor pulling. It's very diverse and exciting, and that's what makes me keep coming back for more.
They are exciting. I can remember growing up in my small town of Lucas, Kansas, and around the areas. And in Lucas, they would have tractor pulls. And it was one of the coolest things as a kid to go watch tractors pulling weights. I don't know why it was so fascinating. Maybe it was something I hadn't seen but once a year, but it happens. And you're just like, you're as a kid, you're like, your eyes are wide. You're like, oh, how far can they pull that? It's so interesting. And it's so much fun. Now, you said you did the live announcing. What led you to that?
So I went to a small liberal arts school, and the beauty of that is you get to be involved in everything. And so I worked at the radio station, I worked at the television station, and when I graduated, I didn't do anything with it. But 5 years later, I was at an event. I came to have fun with everybody. And what happened was the director of the series, who is my husband, said to me, my announcer's sick. He's in the hospital. You have the most experience of anybody that I can find because I can't find anybody on a moment's notice to do this. So you're going to announce my poll tomorrow. And this is about what I looked like. And so it was just utter shock. And so a couple of the pullers were nice enough to sit down with me. I bought them some ice cream, and I took just, vigorous notes from them. And I talked to all the pullers, and I announced that night. And he said, "Hey, you're pretty good. Do you want to go to Macon, Missouri?" Which that was, the Show Me Showdown years ago. And I worked with a great man out there, PC Long, and then it just kind of catapulted from there. The next year, I was asked by the television production crew to be the color commentator for the series. I've done that for a number of years as well. And then I even expanded my motorsports experience. I also work for Monster Jam. So I'm truly blessed to work in a lot of different motorsports.
Well, there's a big event coming up August 3rd. Tell us where that is and what's going to be happening.
So it is a beautiful event in McLouth, Kansas, and it's at the Threshing Grounds. And some of you may be familiar with the threshing bee that they have, and that's going to happen a little bit later in the year. That's in September. But what they do is in this beautiful shaded valley, they have a pulling track there. They're going to have 8 different classes there. They're going to have 2 from the Champions Tour. And so those are competitors that travel the greatest distances across the country to compete. Then they've got 5 different classes from the Champion Seed Western Series. And they've also got a Nebraska Bush Series class. And so they've got trucks, they've got tractors, they've got modified tractors, which are, if you've never seen those before, it's basically just a bare engine out there on frame rails. And it is a beauty to see.
So does this have something to do with like horsepower? How much horsepower do these vehicles have, and does it range from tractor to tractor?
Right. So you've got like entry level classes. So one of the classes you're going to see is the 4-1 limited pro stock tractors. And so those are diesel tractors. They don't have any kind of extra fuel additives. It's just diesel helping to create that horsepower. They don't have any cooling mechanisms on them. Like we have radiators on our cars. They don't have that in there to help cool down the engine to make more power. And those tractors, we're talking about 15 to 1800 horsepower.
Wow.
And so, but then you'll see something like a lightweight super stock tractor, 6,000 pounds, about 3,000 horsepower. And that's what makes them so exciting to watch, because that horsepower to weight ratio in there, because they've got, about half as much horsepower as they do weight, it means that they're going to be hard to handle. And so those are the ones that have the giant wheel stands. They're the ones that kind of rock back and forth on those tires, and they've got to use those brakes to steer it as they go down the track. And they'll make a pass in about 8 to 10 seconds. So it all happens really fast.
So I should not get a drink. I should just be paying attention, sitting there when these things hit the track.
No. There's time for all of that. There's great concessions here. There's great refreshments. We're not saying that you have to be on your toes the whole time. And that's kind of the beauty of it. So there's 2 tracks here in McLeod. So the action is nonstop. So what'll happen is we'll have a tractor pull out on the track, back up to the sled. It'll make its pass. And then you'll actually see them groom the track. It's very similar if you're familiar with drag racing. If there's an oil down on the drag strip, how they have to maintain it. It's the same principle, but they do that after every single vehicle so that the dirt can be the same for every single competitor. Okay. So you'll have a tractor run, then you'll have another tractor on the other track. It's going to pull out back up to the sled and go. So you're going to see a hook about every 2 to 3 minutes. So you do have time to, kind of lean back a little bit, have a polite conversation with your friend, have some refreshments, while you kind of lean up and pay attention and then relax. It's a great spectator sport.
But the action it really is like action nonstop, though, the way you describe it. I mean, you do have those intervals where they're getting ready, but I mean, it's kind of like go like that. So when you talk about these vehicles, is there any way, or do they let you get, because as a kid, you always wanted to get as close as you could to what you were watching. Is there a way, or do they let you get up close and look at these vehicles?
Yeah. And that's the great part is that, these pullers are businessmen and women. They're farmers. They are pretty much, just like you and me. And this is their hobby. This is what they love to do. And so they actually encourage people to come around the pits. It's an open pit area. It's not restricted like all other motorsports where, there's the only restricted area is actually the competition track. And so that's the only place that's restricted from fans. And so you can walk around the grounds, you can talk to drivers, you can ask them about their vehicles. A lot of times they'll have the side shields off so you can actually see what the motor looks like or what the plumbing for the turbo looks like or how they get, 5 gallons of fuel to go into the engine in 10 seconds. So you can see all of that behind the scenes. And the other thing, it's like being at a car show because these trucks and these tractors have custom artwork, custom graphics. Sometimes it's a wrap, sometimes it's hand painted. And so you can see the beauty that goes into the design and the thoughtfulness behind the different names. They all have like fun, unique names on their vehicles. So you can see all that up close like you can't in many other motorsports.
Okay, so I have to ask you, you've been covering this for a long time. What's the craziest thing you've seen happen on the track? And does it happen very often?
Crazy things don't happen very often. There's a thick rule book for all the parameters to keep everybody safe. Drivers, they wear 5-point safety harnesses, helmets, triple layer fire suits, all that. But I have seen a mini rod tractor, which is only 6 feet wide and 8 feet long, and it makes about 2,200 horsepower, and it weighs about 2,200 pounds. And so I have seen one of those actually get up off the rear tires and actually come loose to the sled and roll over. But that doesn't happen. That's like a once in a lifetime experience. It doesn't happen very often.
So have you ever had the chance, has anybody ever let you get up in the vehicle and pull, or have you done that before?
I have not. I had the opportunity one time, and my husband was a giant buzzkill, and he told the gentleman that was going to let me drive, "No, I'm really afraid she's going to break it.
Oh.
So let's not let her drive it," because these are not just your everyday tractors, and everyday tractors are expensive. This is more like a specialty car or a specialty truck thing. Most of the vehicles that you're going to see out here, they have custom made machined parts, or they have parts from, unique tractors that aren't in production anymore. So it's hard to get parts sometimes, and it's very, very expensive. So, we're talking maybe you could enter one of the lower level classes with about a $75,000 vehicle, all the way up to there's an infinite possibility of how much money you could spend on one.
Where do you've been following, like I said, you've been talking to Leslie. Where do you see this sport going? Is there growth in the sport? And do you see younger people get into it? Or is this more of like a generational thing? Your family's been doing this and then you kind of become a part of it. Can you speak on to that?
So I think that it used to be where, like, maybe your family had a farm and you had an extra tractor that you'd retired. So you turned it into a pulling vehicle. And that's kind of how it used to be. Now, what we're seeing is, people who are into, like custom diesel trucks, we're really seeing that facet of our sport grow immensely. Diesel power is really popular. We see drag racing, you see truck and tractor pulling, you see street racing out there. It's a lot cleaner than people believe it to be. And it creates a lot of power. And so it's really, really popular. So we're seeing that facet of it, the 4-wheel drive diesel truck pulling aspect, just really, really growing. We're also seeing some of our tractor classes grow as well. And so it's not just an old timer sport. You're not going to see, just old people, who are retired doing this. You're going to see, young men and women, even some teenagers out here who just turned 16, got their driver's license, and their first vehicle is a pulling tractor. I got a 1980 Chevette when I got my driver's license. That was not the prize that I was looking for. Instead, some of these kids get a 1,200 horsepower truck.
That's awesome, though, that you see a younger generation become interested in a sport that does that. And I do hope that you get to drive one of those vehicles sometimes. I get it when you have a significant other. I'm a single guy, so I just got to look out for me and I can get up in anything I want. But when you do have that significant other, that partner, they do worry about you. And that's that love coming out, right?
I mean, maybe. I think it was more his pocketbook speaking, because he's afraid. And then let's face it, I'm a terrible driver on the roads, so I can't even imagine what I'd be like out there on the
track. Well, it sounds like it's going to be a fantastic time. One more time, tell us where it's going to be and what really, just real short, what people can expect if they've never been to something like this before.
Yeah, so you want to put that mark on your calendars, get out your phones, put it in your date book there. August 3rd, McLouth, Kansas. It's at the McLouth Threshing Bee Grounds. And so it's really beautiful out there. I had the privilege of announcing last year. I'll be there again this year. And so you want to really come out early. The action doesn't start until later in the night, but you want to come out early, enjoy the grounds, amazing pulled pork. All the proceeds from this event actually go back to the Threshing Bee Grounds, and they do some great educational work in the month of September around harvest, around educating people about what it's like to grow crops and what it used to be like to grow crops. And so you're supporting a wonderful cause with this and getting to see high horsepower action. So 8 classes in attendance. I'll be there. You'll hear my voice over the PA giving you the goods on what you're seeing on that track.
There you go. At least now that they've heard you on this StreamYard video, when they go out there and you start announcing, they're like, oh, there's my friend Leslie. Listen to her. She is fantastic. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to hearing you call the action out at the Kansas Nationals coming up on August 3rd. And we will have all that information up on our website at 94country.com. Thank you again for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Riley J. I really appreciate it. Glad to talk about it. It's so exciting, and I can't wait to see y'all there.